From the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast, this is U.S. Farm Report.
Welcome to U.S. Farm Report this week, and I'm Tyne Morgan, and here's what's in store over the next 60 minutes. From an updated look at USDA's national yield estimates to what's fueling the recent drought, it's a deep dive into both weather and markets. On the brink of financial collapse, Arkansas farmers make a desperate plea with lawmakers and sound the alarm.
And what the general public doesn't realize is these things have not just occurred over the last 6 months.
Farmers have one major ask. We need help, and we need it now. As the farm financial crisis becomes more severe, one of the less talked about impacts, farmer suicides, are on the rise. From a farmer who almost took his own life to another farmer who's had 3 loved ones die by suicide. They hope their stories will reach those who need to hear it right now. While many ag groups had concerns after the first Make America Healthy Again report was released, for the most part, they appear to be celebrating the second MAHA report. The report aims to reverse what government leaders call America's childhood chronic disease epidemic. In reacting to the new report, most farm groups noted major improvements from the initial language, largely due to increased engagement with ag stakeholders.
I have to commend the administration for actually taking time to meet with farmers and farm groups and try to actually get facts and not just have a report that was laced with bad information and opinions.
We think it's incredibly important at CRA that anything that the commission looks to do here is underpinned by science. And the science is very clear that consumption of ultra-processed foods in and of itself is not necessarily a detrimental health impact. What is a detrimental health impact is the kind of consumption that takes place, the quantity of consumption that takes place.
The report also calls for offering full-fat milk in school cafeterias and limiting marketing of food and drugs. But many wondered what the report would have to say about pesticides such as glyphosate. Well, the report said government agencies should collaborate on a framework to study cumulative chemical exposures, including pesticides. Well, on the ag trade front, the U.S. ag trade deficit widened further in July. The latest numbers released from USDA this week show that the U.S. imported more than $132 billion in ag goods in the first 7 months of the year, while exports slid 1.3% to $98.8 billion. That represents a deficit of $33.6 billion, a record high, and a 9% increase over last year. Bloomberg says the change comes as a result of limited capacity to expand crop and livestock production, along with increased competition overseas and America's growing appetite for imported goods. There are new reports Mexico expects to resume cattle exports to the U.S. in 2 months. It follows the latest outbreak of New World screwworm. Mexico's Minister of Agriculture says he has met with U.S. Secretary of Ag Brooke Rollins, along with other U.S. ag leaders, to discuss the next steps in fighting back against the screwworm. Meanwhile, the head of the Regional Cattlemen's Union of Chihuahua said on Friday live cattle exports to the U.S. could resume in a couple of months. That's thanks to progress in the sterile fly program. In July, the U.S. closed the border with Mexico to live cattle imports after a new case of New World screwworm was confirmed in Veracruz. The decision coming just 2 days after cattle exports from Mexico had resumed following an earlier detection. While USDA recently revised its farm income forecast upward, heavy production expenses and lower commodity prices continue to erode farmers' profits. The latest numbers show government payments make up a big share of USDA's higher net farm income for 2025 in those projections. The 30% rebound in net farm income for 2025 to $180 billion. It's due in part because it's based on record high cash receipts for livestock, which are up $30 billion or 11%. Farm Journal's Michelle Rook taking a deeper dive into the numbers with John Newton of Terrain.
You've got the ECAP support, the Supplemental Disaster Relief Program that Secretary Rollins and her team have rolled out this year, but only about $13 billion of the $30 billion has gone out the door to farmers who've suffered catastrophic natural disasters or economic natural disasters.
And the need for help for farmers is getting some traction in Congress. Right now, the U.S. is collecting billions of dollars in tariff revenue, but could some of that money soon be going to farmers? That is one of the latest ideas being considered in order to get aid to farmers. House Ag Committee Chairman G.T. Thompson wants to include those farm aid payments as part of a Farm Bill 2.0. He says a framework is already underway with the goal of committee action in September. But Senate Ag Committee Chair John Bozeman is considering aid through the Commodity Credit Corporation because it's more immediate. Historically, low grain prices and tariffs of up to 23% of U.S. soybeans are keeping China out of the export market, and it may warrant another market facilitation program payment like we saw in 2018.
I think it's more serious today, and that's because prices were higher back in 2018 and 2019. We were starting out, I think farmers were starting out from a better position. Not only did you have prices higher, but your inputs were not as expensive.
Well, that push for more aid to farmers came to a head last week. What was supposed to be a meeting of just a handful of farmers in Arkansas turned into a meeting with standing room only. And those farmers had one major plea. We need help, and we need help now. We'll tell you why in our Farm Journal report next.
U.S. Farm Report is brought to you by Pioneer. Plant with confidence. Plant the #1 corn and soybean seed in the U.S. Pioneer.